Veterinarians of Reddit. What common mistakes are we making with our pets? Story 1. I'm a vet. Not letting your dogs around other dogs until they have all their vaccines. Their socialization window closes about 14 weeks, meaning it is pretty much closed if you wait until 16 weeks. This causes a lot of dogs to go nuts and freak out whenever they see something they didn't see during that period. Notice, I did not say to take them to the dog park. They need to be around other dogs and other people in controlled situations, puppy socialization classes, friends' houses, etc. Make sure the dogs they are around are healthy, vaccinated, and good with puppies, and let them have positive experiences with other dogs and people. Obviously, never get behind on their vaccines while you're doing this. Expose them to your tall friends, your friends of different races, your friends with beards, hats, sunglasses. Pull out the broom, an umbrella, an iron board, while giving them treats and having fun the whole time. Try to let them walk on slick floors, bricks, carpet, etc. So they won't have fears of those things, and always happy. Every happy, positive interaction with something makes them less afraid. Every lack of exposure or negative interaction makes them more afraid. Your dog is your friend, not your slave. Your goal is not to make him do exactly whatever you want no matter what. It's to make him have good manners, but also let him have his own preferences too. You're not training him like he's in the circus to do a bunch of stuff for your amusement. You're teaching him how to move safely in the world, which means not doing something biting, urinating in the house, jumping uncontrollably that will be a threat to his life someday. More dogs are surrendered and euthanized for behavior reasons than any other reason. TLDR, make sure your dog is vaccinated and don't expose him to diseases, but make sure he's around a large variety of other people and dogs safely when he is very young. Before his puppy vaccines are finished, edit to add that I'm a vet. Edit again, you're not training him like he's in a circus. Last edit, people keep commenting, it is not impossible to socialize dogs after 16 weeks. And I'm tired of responding individually. Of course it is not. It's just harder. I think of it like learning a language. It's completely possible to learn a language when you're an adult. People do it all the time. But it obviously takes effort and deliberate effort. If you're just dropped into a country when you're 3, you pick up the language automatically because your language window is open, and your language may always be a little bit better than someone who learned later. Story 2, not socializing training puppies. Socialization not just to other dogs, to people, cats, men in hats, vet care, foot touching, handling, bathing, car rides, etc., etc., etc. Basic dog behavior and development knowledge, and positive reinforcement training with just a few basic commands can be the difference between a well-adjusted dog in a loving home and a dog with persistent behavior issues being surrendered to a shelter. Edited to say, I mentioned it in some prior comments, but forgot to say here, I'm not a veterinarian, former vet tech with 5 years experience. Please utilize your family vet as the primary resource for questions. They know the most about your pet and are there to help you, and may recommend a referral to a veterinary behaviorist. If you're looking for a nice behavior resource, check out Denver Dumb Friends League website and click on their behavior handouts link. Excellent handouts and articles on a ton of subjects. Edit to remove hyperlink. I'm new here, and some helpful soul told me Reddit gods don't like it. Thanks. Story 3, veterinarian here. Not going to sift through all these comments, so apologies if I'm echoing others. Getting and relying on medical advice from breeders and groomers with no medical background. I once saw a rat terrier with a fractured humerus, which typically requires surgical correction. As I stepped out of the room to check availability with a surgeon, the client called the dog's breeder, who said not to follow my advice and to just put the dog in a sling, and that she's done on her own dogs plenty. Also, not exercising dogs enough. Many behavioral problems can be solved with ample exercise daily. Edit pill for SIFT. Story 4, trim your pet's nails. I can't tell you how many times I've had to wrestle an ingrown nail out of an animal's flesh, and that stuff can get in there deep. And most of the time, the animal doesn't give you any signs that it's in pain, and the owners don't even notice it's happening at it. As many have pointed out, there may be some instances of not needed to cut your pet's nails. Your pet may grind them down themselves from scratching posts, or walking on concrete surfaces, or digging up your yard. Keep an eye on nail lengths, and use your best judgment. If you think they're getting long, trim them yourself, or take them to a groomer or veterinarian. Story 5, vet here. Didn't read every entry, so some may be repeated. Apologies, could go on all day, but here are a few. Grain-free is 100 marketing. You're paying extra for absolutely no benefit. While we're on the subject, byproducts should not specifically be avoided. Pets need nutrients, not ingredients. Spay and neuter. Why owners elect not to do this astounds me, considering the number of conditions that could be prevented by this simple procedure. If you cannot afford to drop $200 to $300 once a year on your pet, you should not have a pet. This covers only the basic routine services a pet should receive: once yearly exams, preventative medications and testing, vaccines, etc. If you have a pet, set aside a specific emergency fund for this pet. Depending on the condition, a few $100 can save a life. On a similar note, do not get a Great Dane and act surprised that medications for a 150-pound dog are more expensive than your old terrier's medications. Listen to your veterinarian. The breeder said is not a valid excuse for anything. It doesn't take much to put 2 dogs in a room and wait 60 days. Why people say this to a veterinarian is beyond me. Your breeder makes money on making sure each produces a large number of viable offspring. Nothing more. Please vaccinate for the conditions your veterinarian recommends when they recommend them. If you're not willing to spend the appropriate amount of time training and exercising your high-energy dog, please get a fish. If you do not have experience with any dog in the working class, please at least put in the time to research and then train your GSD, GSP, etc. Do not purchase a pet for someone else as a surprise. Getting a pet is a 10 to 20-year commitment and should not be dumped on an unwilling or unable family member, girlfriend, etc. Not really a mistake. More of a PSA. Veterinarians have one if not the highest suicide rate by profession. This is influenced by high-stress environment, desire to save every pet, inability to cope with a mistake, misdiagnosis, or lost pet, high student loan debt, access to euthanasia, other drugs, view on euthanasia, etc. Please be kind to your veterinarian. Story 6. I'm seeing a lot of dog-cat posts, so they'll throw one about snakes. Snakes are not supposed to sneeze cough. They lack diaphragms, so if yours does this, take it to the vet immediately. Please do not drive with your snake free roaming. This is extremely unsafe for the snake as it causes stress and could get stuck somewhere while you're driving. Different snakes require different beddings, humidity levels, enrichment, etc. Just because it works for a corn doesn't mean it's meant for a ball python. It is best and highly recommended to feed frozen to snakes. This is because live rodents can be dangerous to the snake if the snake does not want to eat. I've seen so many dead snake pets due to this. And also, easier storage. If your snake prefers a more lively meal, try dancing or running said dead mouse around the tank for it to attack. Understand your snake and stress. Do not humanize your snake into thinking that it's behaving in a mammal-human-like way. It could be showing signs of clear stress, and you're seeing it. As I'll look at its face, you can love your reptile while also respecting its boundaries. This is my personal rant tip. If you want a cool, look at me accessory, may I suggest a new hairdo, a cool jacket, or literally anything else besides a snake. These animals are surprisingly delicate to their environments and require everyday husbandry. You scaring people with it or using it as a way to get chicks is not helping the reputation of these pretty awesome creatures. They have fears, intelligence, and likes-dislikes like any other animal. They are not breathing jewelry. Reptiles in general are very complex pets to keep healthy. Do your research, please. Learn the diets, the vitamins, the lights, the humidity, etc. These animals can live to be over 20, yet rarely do due to poor husbandry. And my tip for all animals in general is enrichment. Play with your pets, train them, give them puzzles, new toys, new hiding boxes, etc. Literally anything to keep their minds and bodies fit. These creatures rely on us for their whole lives. They do not have phones, TVs, books, etc. They have us, their owners. It's our responsibility to keep them entertained and living full lives. Even a fish could enjoy some new plants and scenery every once in a while. Edit. Loving the questions, loving the enthusiasm, loving the discussions. Everyone, alas, I have to sleep and stuff, so I'm going to recommend all you reptile owners, lovers, check out your pet subreddit for more advice, pictures, ideas, and just overall love for whatever you have. If you cannot find your questions answered, shoot me a PM, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. And if I don't know the answer, I have a whole phone book of zookeepers and exotic vets who probably do LOL happy herping everyone. Story 7. I'm a vet. I can list a million things I wish owners would understand about their pet's health, but equally important is understanding that if you cannot afford basic veterinary care, then you cannot afford a pet. Period. This is an industry with serious mental health concerns. We are routinely presented with cases that could have been avoidable if you'd practiced the suggested preventative care or brought your pet in for evaluation once the symptoms started rather than waiting 6 weeks until the animal is beyond help. We are routinely berated by the public for being uncaring or having no compassion for not providing our services for free, though often veterinary diagnostics are performed at a fraction of the cost of human diagnostics, and the turnaround time is considerably shorter. I do not want to euthanize your beloved family member, but if you have no ability to cover the estimated cost of care, you put us both in an unfortunate situation. The fact that I have to euthanize multiple pets on a daily basis is one of the worst parts of my job. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but oftentimes a traumatic end could be prevented with basic yearly checkups. Also, please don't expect me to cry over every euthanasia. If I didn't distance myself from the heart-wrenching sadness, I would never be able to perform my job. Story 8. Hello, veterinary nurse here. Kinda surprised I haven't seen this posted yet. Might have missed it, however. Please, if your pet got into your weed or edibles, just tell us. No, we are not going to call the cops on you. We just want to treat your pet correctly, not waste our time. We really don't care that you smoke. Also, please put your weed up where your pets can't reach. If dogs will eat literal, then yes, they certainly will eat your pot, definitely all of your baked edibles candy. Thanks, D. Story 9. I'm graduating as a veterinarian in a few months. One of the most common things we see, and a very serious issue at that, is dental disease in pets. And often the owner has no idea that their animal's teeth are bad at all. Dental disease affects all body systems bacteria, and dental disease go hand in hand. And those bacteria end up all throughout the body, affecting organs such as the kidneys and the heart. Not to mention it flipping hurts. Some owners are under the impression that because their animal is still eating, that must mean that they do not have an oral health issue. The truth of it is you eat or starve. I like to tell people that the most common symptom you'll see in dental disease besides, of course, the yucky mouth itself is no symptoms. I've seen a lot of owners comment how their dog or cat is like they're young again after getting a much-needed dental treatment, specifically the extraction of teeth. Arguably, the most important aspect of oral care that you can do at home is tooth brushing optimally every single day with a veterinary toothpaste. Outside of that, regular physical examinations and professional dental cleanings under general anesthesia when necessary. Unfortunately, anesthetic-free dental cleanings may do more harm than good, including giving you a false sense of security of your pet's dental health. Another common and emerging issue is obesity in pets. Your pets depend on you and you alone to regulate the amount of food you provide to them, and thus their weight. Obesity, like dental disease, affects all body systems and, unfortunately, will often translate to a shorter lifespan. In general, please do not provide any kind of medical pharmaceutical treatment to your animals without consult to a veterinarian, as sometimes you will do something harmful when you're just trying to help, which is simply tragic. I am getting a lot of questions about ways to care for your pet's mouths at home, which is awesome to see how much people care. Here is a reliable source, which shows some products recommended by the American Veterinary Dental College. And, as always, remember to consult with your veterinarian about products for your pets. Story 10. Common mistakes. 1. Declawing pet cats, unless someone in the house is immunocompromised. It's considered inhumane. Contrary to what most people think, it isn't simply taking off a nail, it's a literal digit amputation of the distal phalanx. That's like cutting your fingers off at the last knuckle. 2. Letting a declawed cat outdoors. They can't defend themselves and will die. Edit, as some people have pointed out, they will die is not necessarily true. More likely, they will be horribly mauled or injured due to being largely defenseless. Is this an absolute certainty? No, but it's very possible. If you care about your pet, you should not want this in the realm of possibility. But what do I know? 3. Not neutering your pets. They will lead arguably longer and happier lives if they are fixed. Edit, happier lives cuts down aggressive unwanted behavior, which is usually the leading cause of being returned to a shelter for being bad and misbehave. Healthier lives, no chance of death during pregnancy or any kind of reproductive cancers, such as testicular, prostate, ovarian, uterine, etc. But what do I know? 4. Never taking your pet in for an annual checkup. Things change in our pets' bodies faster than they do in ours. Think of their lifespan as opposed to a human's. Edit, I'm sorry my thermometer in your pet's tush is a bit uncomfortable, and the mere sight of me gets him trembling. Believe me, when I went into this profession, I wasn't expecting animals to dread coming to see me, but 15 minutes in the clinic, one day out of 365, is the least you can do for an animal that loves you unconditionally. But what do I know? 5. Giving your pets people medicine. A lot of the things we can ingest may be toxic to animals. You can kill your pet even with the best of intentions. 6. Waiting for weeks or days to rush in with an emergency. Chances are your pet has been in considerable pain. Treatment may be more complex, difficult, and your bill will be much, much higher. 7. Equating food with love. Pet obesity is a real thing. You could be taking years off of your pet's life and causing them painful joint issues by overfeeding. 8. Feed a raw diet. Animals can get food poisoning too. Make sure to talk to your vet to ensure your pet's diet adheres to certain species-specific guidelines. Edit, as many people have pointed out, their pets are on Vet AFCO-approved raw diets. Fine. As long as you're not throwing your pet's whole chickens and calling it holistic, But what the do I know? Also, I was thinking of dogs and cats when I wrote this. I should have been more clear that there are exceptions for every species. Let your snake do its raw snaky thing. 9. Make your pet vegan or vegetarian because you are. Cats absolutely need essential amino acids that can only be found in meat. They'll die otherwise. 10. Neglect dental health. This is a common issue we see at the office. Address oral health early, and ITLL, save you money in your pet's teeth. If you're reading this, chances are you love your pet. Thank you for being responsible owners. Source: I'm a fourth-year veterinary student edited. Because what the do I know? Story 11. 1 year away from being a full-blown vet. Worked as a technician for 4 years before vet school. Please don't ignore cats screaming or looking constipated. They're likely suffering a urinary blockage, and they could die. Please bring them to a vet. It's not as much the food as the cows. Read the bag. There are plenty of calculators online that will give you an idea of how much your pet should be eating. Then compare that to the food you have and measure out what is appropriate. And please, please, be kind to your vet. It is all too often we are accused of being in this for the money. We aren't. Most of us take on huge loans to the tune of $200K to be your pet's doctor. We also have one of the highest rates of suicide as far as a profession goes. Please keep that in mind before you leave a mean review. We take failure personal. Trust me, there may be some exceptions, but I speak for me and my colleagues. We love your pets too. That's why we spent 8 years getting to be their doctor. Story 12. Former vet tech here. Few things. 1. Spay neuter your pets. No, Fifi does not need to have a litter, and it might actually endanger her health to do, so look up Pyometra. There are too many unwanted dogs cats in the world. Please don't add to the burden too. Microchip your pet, and keep the information updated. It is usually the key to help your pet find their way back home. 3. Play with your kitten's feet. Seriously, start as early as possible. This will help with nail trimmings. For socialize your puppies to anything and everything. When this is done safely, it can help prevent behavioral problems in the future. 5. Learn to read your pet's behavior. Knowing when they are stressed out, scared, sick can really help you avoid dangerous situations. Story 13. You are buying breeds that are already prone to having a low life expectancy. Like bulldogs, certain breeds are terribly bred. The bulldog is by far the worst breed, and you're signing yourself up to be paying for a lot vet bills. Story 14. Listen, genuine grain allergy is incredibly rare in dogs. Grain-free is a marketing crock. Oh, and your cute dog with no face, they can't breathe. Try to breathe with your nose permanently, 80 blocked, and your soft palate blocks your throat. Now try running. Yes, I went there, and yes, I'm a vet. Story 15. AM vet. Please don't say that. Vets are in it for the money. I'm raising a family of 4, and last year, I brought home less than $60K. Vets make a living, but we will never be wealthy. We do not make recommendations to take your money. We make recommendations because we genuinely care about your pet's well-being. I've been a vet for 13 years, and just last year made enough to buy a car, a Honda, and I still owe $80K on my student loans. Vets are not in it for the money. Story 16. Not a vet, but a vet technician. Getting their teeth cleaned is not a way for us to make money. Pets actually need their teeth cleaned, or else their teeth will rot out and can cause other issues. Of course, it varies with the size of your pet, but still, dogs need to be tested for heartworms. Heartworms are spread by mosquitoes, and just because your dog does not go outside does not mean anything. Mosquitoes can still come inside your house. Heartworms cause damage to their heart and is very expensive to get rid of and treat. It's cheaper to prevent them. If your pet is acting weird, do not wait a week or so before taking them to a vet. Take them as soon as you can. I could go on, but I'll just leave this last bit here. If you cannot afford vaccines or other health care, do not get a pet. Story 17. I'm in the middle of training right now. But one thing I see absolutely everywhere that kills me inside is fish being kept in small tanks or bowls. The idea that fish can be kept in bowls comes from the fact that people in East Asian countries like Japan would temporarily put their fish on display in bowls to show off the guests and house them in large ponds most of the time. Westerners assumed such small containers were suitable to house fish in, and this is still widespread today. Not only does a bowl destroy your fish's health due to the lack of air touching the surface per unit volume of water, but the space you're giving your fish is basically comparable to keeping a human in one room the whole of their life. Fish are cleverer than people give them credit, and they feel pain and emotion more than people give them credit for. Also, they can't pull facial expressions that we can empathize with, so their mental well-being is often overlooked. Even small fish need a decent amount of space to live and things in their tank to hide in or explore. They grow much larger and live much longer than most people think. They absolutely need to be housed in the right accommodation. In the right environment, the amount of fish I've seen being kept on shelves next to loudspeakers, etc., and with the correct amount and type of other fish. It takes a lot of space, time, and money to look after them decently. They're not the low-maintenance pets so many treat them as. Story 18 is anyone going to speak up for exotic pets? Non-cat dog pets are sometimes horribly cared for, even with good intent. Especially reptiles, pet stores normally give poor, uneducated guidelines for care. Their own animals available for sale are often kept in inappropriate and even deadly conditions while waiting to be sold. I'd like to hear a vet's take on this. Story 19, not a vet, but witnessed my friend's puppy dying of parvo. It was devastating even for me. My friend's mistake was putting off getting the puppy's first set of shots and letting the puppy play with other puppies before getting the shots. One of the other puppies had been in contact with a dog that died of parvo. So, please get your new puppies their first set of shots immediately. And don't let them play with other dogs or even take them where other dogs have been. You don't want to have your new puppers suffering and dying in your arms. Edit, I meant don't let your unvaccinated or freshly vaccinated 6 to 10-week-old puppies play with strange dogs. Did not mean don't socialize them. I agree 100 dogs need to be socialized. Sorry for the misunderstanding, peoples. Story 20, I'm a CVT with years of experience in ECC and IM. I love my career and I love to help pets. Get your pets insured, especially your large breed dogs and purebreds. Do it the day you get them, right after their first wellness visit. This saves a lot of heartache during trauma hit by car, GDV, or when an underlying condition pops up. I use it to cover the costs of my cat's chronic renal failure. If you want to make a home-cooked diet for your pets, please ask for a nutrition consultation from a vet. Facebook lied to you. Our vets spend a ton of time on animal nutrition, and some are even dedicated to it. It's something that the public has a poor grasp on, whether they're going crazy for grain-free or decrying animal byproducts while buying pig ears and bull dicks. I've seen an entire cattery end up with heart disease because the breeder chose to feed them all raw chicken. I've seen internet recipes that contain onions, garlic, and other toxic substances. Your pets depend on you for balanced diets, and we can help with that. We do not support dominance training in pets. Dogs are not wolves, and feral dogs don't even act like wild wolves. Please hire trainers that use positive reinforcement and follow through at home. Be careful with training aids. That prong collar that totally didn't hurt your wrist in the pet store is going around your poor dog's neck where his trachea, jugular, and carotid are. If you have to do something medical at home like subcutaneous fluids, medications, insulin injections, or use a feeding tube and are uncomfortable with it, please tell me. I will go over this with you as many times as it takes. That's what I'm here for. The first few days are always rough and mistakes will happen, but I'm on your team and I can help. Also, if medications like pills are difficult to give, let us know. We can compound a lot of them into flavored liquids or even switch some to transdermal formulas. The thing that breaks my heart with my chronic condition pets is when owners have trouble with the medication and stop it abruptly on their own. Story 21, heartworm prevention. I am in a rural place where the common theme is dogs are tools and therefore kept outside off leash. I have never made a grown redneck cry faster than telling him his favorite hunting dog has heartworms. Everyone knows the treatment is expensive and somewhat risky, so they often have no choice but either euthanize or just let it run its course. When they refuse treatment, prior to release, we're obligated to tell them exactly what will happen, and that's when the tears flow. But we offer ProHeart 6, one-shot 6 months of protection. We offer Advantage Multi. One pill covers fleas, ticks, heartworms, a few internal parasites, and even mange. We have the options. Please use them. I haven't steeled up yet. I still cry at every youth, especially a preventable one. Look at this. You need meds if you live in an orange or red area. Story 22, lack of dentistry or dental hygiene is probably the main thing I see. Dental cleanings are important. Pets usually need a cleaning at or soon after 3 years of age, sometimes younger. A teeth cleaning at the groomer is not a dental. I'm talking about an anesthetized prophylactic cleaning and polishing, similar to what you get at your human dentist. However, we can't ask your pet to hold still and open its mouth, or we take x-rays and clean the teeth and probe to check for pocketing. So anesthesia is necessary. Most veterinary hospitals use up-to-date equipment that provides safe monitoring for your pet. Just be sure to go to a reputable veterinary clinic or an animal dentist. Unlike people, dogs' mouths are very different from one another. Think of a Yorkie versus a French Bulldog versus a Golden Retriever. The structure of the mouth between them are not the same across every dog. Cats are fairly similar to one another. The small mouths and teeth can often have more problems or need more frequent cleanings. There are a lot of factors that can vary when or how much tartar accumulates, such as diet or dental hygiene treats or teeth brushing. Brushing a dog's teeth less than 4 times a week is almost ineffective. Dental hygiene treats work, but aren't as effective as a cleaning and polishing. The worse it gets over time, the more expensive it will be later on if you get them taken care of. Don't wait till it's too late. And yes, Even if you keep up on annual dental cleanings, it is still possible to have other problems like fractured teeth or root exposure, enamel loss from chewing or wearing. Dogs use their mouth like we use our hands, not just to eat, but as tools. This has an effect on the teeth too. I got a 4-month-old German Shepherd in 2015 and have been trialing AskReddit dental chews by giving him one dental treat every single day since I got him. He is now 3 years old and his teeth are still immaculate. I don't brush his teeth because, yes, I'm lazy about that too, and he hasn't had a dental cleaning. Another German Shepherd that is only a couple weeks apart in age as my dog has already needed 2 dental cleanings. Another common mistake with pets is obesity, feeding the wrong foods, junk ingredients, or unnecessary nutrition. Dogs and cats are fairly simple for feeding and maintaining. Most food manufacturers provide a guidance to how much to feed based on weight. If you follow that and your pet starts gaining weight, then you know to change something. They don't eat something different for every meal like we do. It makes it easier to keep track of how much you should feed. Obviously, there are medical conditions that might render this difficult, such as thyroid hormones or metabolism. But generally speaking, a lean pet will have much better chance at remaining healthy. The majority of animals I see with lumps and bumps are overweight or not neutered or both. If you have been a pet owner for several years, or maybe more than a decade or two, you'll have noticed that the style of animal medicine has changed significantly. The availability of advanced medicine has increased exponentially, and so has your expectations as a pet owner. We understand this, but what comes with this is better care for your pets to result in longer lifespans while staying healthier longer. Story 23, not vaccinating your pets because you were sold on the cool aid offered by anti-vaxxers, not keeping your pet in optimal body condition score, not going for yearly checkups. Story 24, I'm a dog trainer. And the worst thing I've seen is humanization. Pets don't behave like humans as much as it might seem. The most important rule is not to pet your dog when it is doing unwanted behavior, being scared, aggressive, or yapping. Don't touch them. This only incentivates the behavior. Don't carry your dogs around unless it is strictly needed. This might give you trouble with dominant behavior. Don't feed your dog human food. A small treat every now and then is okay, but don't make this a norm. If you don't want the dog in the house, but you're not willing to expend at least an hour a day playing with it and training it, don't get a dog. Story 25, emergency critical care vet nurse here. With a history of GP work also, one of the major common problems I see is pets without a budget to fall back on. Pets have bodies that fail in similar ways as people's do. Their teeth rot, their bones can break, they can get cancer, they get injured unexpectedly, just like we can. Fixing these illnesses and injuries is often possible, but it costs money, a lot of it. In fact, bills at my clinic are routinely between $600 to $3,000 for things like road traffic accidents, broken limbs from jumping wrong, kidney stones causing blockage, etc. Even ongoing minor problems can end up costing a lot over time with medication revisits or special dietary requirements. And if you have a flat-faced breed, you're in for a bad time cost-wise because they have so many more common health problems. The reason I make a big deal about the cost is because it's absolutely horrible when we end up having to euthanize animals because their owners just can't afford an unexpected multi-thousand-dollar bill. Certainly, there are cases where spending the money is a bad idea, as the pet may be too unwell to survive with quality of life anyway. But accidents happen. Illnesses develop unexpectedly as pets age. Breed-specific problems can crop up at any time, and many of these issues are fixable, or at least manageable, given the appropriate care. Unfortunately, that care must come with a cost. I urge all pet owners to consider their finances when getting a pet. If you don't have much money, don't spend all of it getting a designer dog, rescue a shelter dog, and you'll have an instant emergency deposit with the rest of the money you would have used to buy it. Pet insurance can be a lifesaver, but make sure you know what you're covered for. A pet savings fund may be a better option for many people, where there's usually finance options available. Anything helps. Really, it's really upsetting to have to be the one telling people they can't afford to save their cat or dog. So TLDR, please have a pet savings fund. Be aware that veterinary care costs a lot, and prepare for the cost so that it isn't a financial emergency on top of a medical one. Story 26, I am a vet with 18 years experience. The most common problems that we have with our cats come from a misunderstanding about their needs in our homes. In 2014, I learned that the one cause of death for cats was euthanasia for behavior problems, the very behavior problems that we cause by not meeting their innate needs in our homes. I found this completely unacceptable. I founded a company committed to educating cat parents about the needs of their cats, proven in the veterinary literature, and bringing well-designed, commercially available solutions to market. Scarf and urinating outside of the litter box, waking their human up at night, obesity, and aggressive destructive behavior all stem from a lack of an enriched environment in the home. Modern life for an indoor cat means having virtually no stimulation, eating giant meals out of bowls, and sleeping most of their life away. This actually causes stress, anxiety, food obsession, obesity. This stress and anxiety are responsible for over 70 of urinary disease in cats. And 25 of our cats are overweight or obese. So what does a cat need? In nature, cats spend 80 of their waking hours hunting for food. They hunt, catch, and play with 5 to 20 small meals a day. They hunt day and night. For a cat, mealtime is not just about obtaining calories. It is the essential time for them to enact their innate predatory instincts. Gorging meals from a bowl denies cats their innate need to hunt. Cats that hunt, catch, and play with multiple small meals a day are happier and healthier. Hunting is the ultimate in environmental enrichment. Ban the bowl. If you want to learn more, I write a regular blog. Tomorrow we'll be posting about vaccines and the indoor cat. My startup, devoted to meeting the needs of the indoor cat, is Doc Phoebe's Cat Co. Tech here, you're feeding them too much. We had 4 new diabetic dogs in the past 2 months. You're not using your flea tick prevention regularly. Lyme disease sucks. Protect your buddies. Same goes for heartworm pills. It is expensive to treat heartworms. Prevent it instead. Story 27, not a vet. So this isn't scientific or medical advice of any kind, but I'm just going to throw this in because it's important and doesn't get emphasized enough. Taking your pets to the vet is part of being a responsible, loving owner. Too many of my friends and family members avoid taking their sometimes clearly sick and/or overweight pets to the vet because it's too expensive. Your pet doesn't deserve to suffer and be in poor health just because you made the irresponsible decision to adopt a pet without checking your budget first. Veterinarians are doctors who deserve to be paid fairly for their work. All pets deserve to be loved and cared for. And for I didn't choose to adopt my pet, it was just given to me, and I can't afford to take it to the vet, okay? Either give it to a more responsible friend, family member, or surrender it to an animal rescue organization, not a pound, where they'll probably euthanize it. Story 28, wife is a vet. Insurance. Insure your pet. If you don't have insurance, don't have a pet, get it insured. Bringing it to the vet with an accident, injury, or illness, and the animal being perfectly treatable, but putting it to sleep because you've got no money is horrible to the animal and to your vet. Happens every week at my Miss Sus practice. Story 29 here is my 2 cents on exotic pets and pocket pets as a veterinarian. Please, for the love of God, look up the basic husbandry and nutrition for an exotic pet before you go and purchase a super glider, hamster, iguana, bearded dragon, etc. The husbandry problems are 90 of an exotic vet's business, honestly. People buy pocket pets exotics, thinking they will be super low-key pets that are easy to maintain. I argue they're much harder because of the delicate balance you have to strike. They have specific hide box needs, humidity needs, special bedding, heating requirements, basking areas, and special diets. They take a lot more work than your normal cat or dog. You would not believe the number of iguanas and lizards I have seen come in on emergency that are like rubber chickens and have 0 bone density because the owners had no idea that calcium supplementation and UVB lighting were necessary. Also, guinea pigs must have vitamin C supplementation. No, the pet store does not sell you everything you need when you pick up your new pet. The kid at the pet store not telling you what it needs is not an excuse, and it is your responsibility to research how to take care of your pet. Other mistakes people make is treating their exotic pet like a small version of a dog or cat. They have a dog that is super friendly and would never harm a fly, so they let their hang out in the same room as the dog out of its cage. Shocker when the dog one day decides yours is going to be lunch. Pocket pets and domestic pets are not friends and never will be. Another common exotic pet mistake is not realizing how expensive their care can be. That 10 hamster also needs to go see the veterinarian for an annual checkup. Just because the pet was cheap does not mean you shouldn't have at least a few hundred saved up for the annual checkup, and then an additional minimum few hundred for illnesses. If you can't afford their basic care, then you can't afford a pet, period. Most common mistake is not realizing that you absolutely must be proactive with a sick exotic pet. They are prey animals for the most part and designed to hide their illness. Once they show clinical signs, they're very sick and oftentimes can be too late. Wait and see often leads to dead pet.